Tonight, one dead and traffic gridlock after a motorcyclist's tragic plunge. The Prime Minister's plea to Victoria's true believers despite a new poll setback.
This isn't a fight between right and left, it's a fight between right and wrong.
And teens and police targeted in a spate of violence across Melbourne.
This is the 10 Evening News with George Danikian.
Good evening. First tonight, a motorcyclist has plunged to his death in a tragic crash on the Westgate Freeway. The resulting closure of the Burnley Tunnel causing traffic jams for kilometres.
Railing on the Westgate Freeway failed to save a man in his 20s from falling to his death. As the motorcyclist got off the freeway at the Kingsway exit, he went over the barrier and landed on the busy road below. By the time paramedics arrived, he was dead. The major collisions and traffic units also quick to respond. To give themselves time to investigate exactly what happened, police are diverting cars off the freeway and onto the Power Street exit, which is expected to cause a city traffic headache for several hours. The incident caused instant chaos with hundreds of motorists banked back for kilometres. The Burnley Tunnel blocked off to traffic heading outbound. Overnight in the state's west, another fatal crash. A father was killed with his 2 children in the car. They were both hurt and taken to the Wimmera Base Hospital. And late this afternoon, 5 people were involved in a head-on collision in Bulla. A 5-year-old girl was airlifted to the Royal Children's with head injuries. The other 4, including a pregnant woman, were also taken to hospital. The road toll currently stands at 123, 14 up on the same time last year. Alicia McMillan, 10 News.
It was a violent night across Melbourne with 6 people injured in 5 separate assaults. A police officer was attacked with a knife and a Good Samaritan suffered a broken eye socket.
Bloodied and battered, this 18-year-old man bashed with chairs while dining at the Melbourne Central Food Court.
He was there with his girlfriend and a group of approximately 5 to 6 Asian males have assaulted him.
The couple was sitting near the men who started hurling verbal abuse before it turned physical.
He's got a cut to the head and some bruising on the face as well as some injuries to his arms.
Outside Etihad Stadium, a 41-year-old man suffered facial injuries and a suspected broken eye socket after intervening when a woman was assaulted by another man.
I hope it doesn't deter other people from stepping in to help.
Makes you wonder what the world's coming to, actually.
In Cranbourne, 2 teenage boys were the victims of an armed robbery. Men in up to 4 cars pulled up beside them around 1 a.m. A 16-year-old suffered injuries to his head, a 13-year-old to his face.
There's always someone running up and down the street and fighting and stuff and cars going crazy around here.
The spate of violence continued in Reservoir when a member of the police dog squad was attacked. A man approached the officer's car here in Kenilworth Street and lunged at him with a knife through the window. He suffered a graze to his face before driving off. The 29-year-old was arrested in Edwards Street and could be charged with attempted murder. And police were called to Swanston Street around 3 a.m. after a 7-Eleven attendant was hit over the head with a bottle. Yasmin Payton, 10 News.
Prime Minister Julia Gillard's bid to boost her party's flagging support has suffered a setback in Melbourne. The State Labor Conference ending in farce when too few members stayed to vote on controversial policy platforms.
After a string of disappointing opinion polls, the Prime Minister might have been relieved to be among friends. The focus of the speech to the party faithful, selling the budget and the policy to put a price on carbon.
This isn't a fight between right and left, it's a fight between right and wrong.
And the PM didn't miss a chance to take a shot at Tony Abbott.
He is acting more like the love child of Sarah Palin and Donald Trump.
While Julia Gillard didn't stick around, others dismissed the latest poll that found most Queenslanders would prefer Kevin Rudd as Labor leader.
The Labor Party think that Julia Gillard is an outstanding Prime Minister.
The hall was full for speeches, but numbers thinned for policy debate. There was to be a vote on whether to support a motion condemning Julia Gillard's stance against gay marriage. But because there were less than 150 delegates, the vote had to be abandoned.
Comrades, just Look, I think we've had the count. We've had 2 counts.
That prompted accusations delegates had left the room to thwart the vote.
I don't think we want to be naming anyone.
That we've guaranteed a show of how funny it is when a conference doesn't want to debate certain issues.
An abrupt end to the annual conference. Emma O'Sullivan, 10 News.
Essendon and Richmond fans are making their way to the MCG for the annual Dreamtime Clash, and some have just set off on the long walk from Federation Square in support, of course, of Indigenous achievement and reconciliation. Reporter Raquel Eberle joins us live. Raquel, the walk, of course, a big part of the AFL's Indigenous round.
George, organisers estimate that more than 10,000 footy fans are taking part in tonight's long walk from here at Federation Square to the Dreamtime Clash down the road at the MCG. Now, of course, that name wasn't derived from the distance of that journey. It is, of course, named after Michael Long, the great former Essendon Indigenous footballer who did, in fact, walk a very long way, all the way from Melbourne to Canberra to highlight the plight of the Indigenous peoples. Now, today, he was offering some words of inspiration. Here's a little of what he had to say.
From the very, very beginning, it was about, not just about Indigenous and non-Indigenous, about all Australians, being a part of it and going forward, moving together. And I think part of this weekend is part of the celebration is I suppose people coming in and being a part of that and getting involved.
And George, a wonderful boon for the 600 or so participants who'll get to walk out with Michael Long onto the hallowed turf of the MCG and be part of the Dreamtime pre-match entertainment on what should be a wonderful night between, of course, Essendon and Richmond.
And you, of course, will be there. Thank you, Raquel. Raquel Eberle reporting live from Federation Square. Well, Australia may be given a second chance to bid for the 2022 Soccer World Cup. The federal government has confirmed it will recontest the ballot. That's if corruption claims lead to the winner, Qatar, being disqualified.
Australia may have been sidelined by Qatar, but we're back in the game.
Certainly, if FIFA finds that corruption has taken place, then there will be calls for a new, fresh ballot. There's no doubt about that.
2 FIFA board members are accused of accepting bribes totalling $3 million to hand their host bid votes to Qatar. The damning allegations have our government revisiting last year's failed goal, which cost taxpayers $45 million.
All the specifications, the technical work is complete, so therefore it shouldn't cost any further funding to the government.
Our bid earned just 1 FIFA board vote, placing us behind England and the USA. The hopes of a nation were dashed back in December when Australia lost out to Qatar, but they're back on the rise now that there's an opportunity to take a second shot at the prize. Aspiring Socceroos are certainly on side.
Really exciting. Yeah, really to watch it.
Although seasoned fans are sceptical about the timing of these allegations.
And I reckon Sepp Blatter is putting the pressure on the other fella from Qatar who's going for his position, and it's just one of these, election campaigning things. That's my opinion anyway.
In relation to the presidential ballot for FIFA, that is a matter for FIFA to determine.
FIFA's Ethics Committee will meet next month to determine if a fresh World Cup ballot will be held. Australia's Football Federation won't comment until there is a decision. Jacqueline Maddock, 10 News.
Still to come, the Queen's historic mission to Ireland completed. Also, Swanston Street's makeover. The end of the Spin King's brilliant career sealed with a kiss. You're watching 10 News. The transformation of Melbourne's Swanston Street thoroughfare is underway. Work has started between the Latrobe and Little Lonsdale Street intersections with plans for a new tram stop outside the State Library.
Well, it's going to make traffic chaos, isn't it? It's awful. But that's Melbourne. If it's not one street, it's the other.
Tram tracks will be lowered while new bicycle routes will also be added. Stage 1 due for completion by the end of the year. 34 protesters have been killed after Syrian forces opened fire on pro-democracy supporters. Protesters were staging the rally after Friday prayers, but scattered as government forces opened fire. Thousands of Syrians have defied the unrelenting government crackdown and flooded streets right across the country. Elsewhere, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dismissed US President Barack Obama's Middle East peace plan during rather tense talks at the White House. Israel remains unwilling to give back land to the Palestinians, which they gained in the '67 war.
Mr. Prime Minister, welcome.
President Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu shook hands following a lengthy meeting at the White House. But both leaders acknowledge they disagree on how to achieve peace with the Palestinians.
Obviously, there are some differences between us in the precise formulations and language, and that's going to happen between friends.
While Israel is prepared to make generous compromises for peace, it cannot go back to the 1967 lines, because these lines are indefensible.
Some in the Jewish community say President Obama betrayed them when he announced Israel should give back land gained in the Six-Day War to create a Palestinian state.
We value your efforts to advance the peace process. This is something that we want to have accomplished.
Netanyahu and the president agree on one thing: the Palestinians have to sever their ties with Hamas.
Hamas has been and is an organization that has resorted to terror.
And President Obama says just as he's demanding a lot from Israel, he'll put pressure on the Palestinians to keep their end of the bargain. At the White House, Danielle Nottingham, 10 News.
The Queen has mingled with thousands of well-wishers on the final day of her historic visit to Ireland. The monarch broke from her official schedule for a walk through the town of Cork, where she was surprised by the warm welcome.
Special jerseys we got. Welcome to Cork.
What does the top say? Let's have a look.
Welcome to Cork.
Welcome to Cork. Welcome to Cork.
The Queen's visit has exceeded expectations for healing Irish-Anglo relations. The next generation of mobile phones to hit the market could well replace your wallet. The handsets have a credit card chip built in. Consumers simply tap their phone against a terminal, which processes the transaction. Each phone has a purchase limit of $50. More than 50,000 shop terminals have been installed across the United Kingdom. Spin king Shane Warne has sealed his glittering cricketing career with a kiss from love interest Liz Hurley. This snap was taken after the 42-year-old's final professional cricket match with the Rajasthan Royals in the Indian Premier League overnight. Now, the steamy embrace has the tongues wagging that the glamour couple could well move in together now that the Sheikh of Tweak's cricket commitments have come to an end. For the record, Warne finished with 1 for 30 in the Royals' 10-wicket win. But for the real sport, here's our man Ian Cohen.
He never ceases to amaze, does he, old Warne? Thanks very much, George. And the good news rolls on because his team St Kilda mustered a rare win. We cross to the MCG ahead of tonight's Dreamtime clash. Chris Judd hobbles into recovery. The V8s and F1s fire up, and Bulldog bustler Barry Hall is back, and the big man throws his weight around in the VFL. Good evening. St Kilda has finally broken through for a much-needed second win of the season, holding off Melbourne in a scrappy game at Etihad Stadium. The Saints led all day, Nick Riewoldt and Stephen Milne booting 3 goals each in the 20-point win.
Searching for just their second win of the year, Nick Riewoldt urged his Saints to lift. Stephen Milne responding immediately.
Stars, look at that, it's honing in on goal.
Jack Watts with Melbourne's first. Brendan Goddard also adding to the D's score.
Is that a deliberate point? Well,
bad news for Melbourne, Luke Tapscott done for the day. But the D's rallied 3 goals in 5 minutes, reducing the margin to 3 points at the first break. A comedy of errors in the second, the Saints making hard work of it.
Well, couldn't get around the Melbourne player, but does eventually. And
the D's even worse up the other end.
Watch this again. Now, we should have just kicked it first instinct there.
Frustrations boiling over at the half, St Kilda with an 11-point lead. Jim Stein's on hand to spark the D's with quick results.
Scrambles it forward for a goal!
Melbourne charging back, levelling the scores before the Saints regained control, leading by 11 at three-quarter time. Jamie Cripps with 2 in the last.
Goal, a certain goal to Cripps. He bangs it through along the ground.
Debutant Nick Winmar on the receiving end of a crude tackle. St Kilda putting everything on the line, holding on for a desperately needed win. Jackie Reid for Sports Tonight.
Fremantle has stormed back into the winner's circle with a 52-point thrashing of Port Adelaide at Amy Stadium. Dockers midfielder Nick Lower was best on ground against his old side, while Kepler Bradley finished with 3 goals. The Power struggled to stay in touch early as Fremantle kicked out to a 31-point lead, their best opening term of the year.
Feeds it back to Kepler Bradley. He can't miss from in front of goal, and he continues his run.
Coach Matthew Primus was furious with the 9-goal rout, which leaves his side with just 1 win for the season. Carlton is confident Chris Judd will line up against Melbourne next Friday night, despite injuring his ankle in last night's nail-biting loss to Geelong. Judd could only play a restricted role in the second half, and the Cats cashed in, getting home by 2 points to continue their unbeaten run.
They might have lost the game, but the Blues won plenty of admirers, and as a bonus, the prognosis on Chris Judd is positive.
Yeah, it's not too bad, mate. Just a bit of a kick in the foot.
So you think you'll be right for next week?
Yeah, I think you'll be fine.
Judd hobbled from the field just before half-time and disappeared down the race for treatment after accidentally kicking Mitch Duncan's shin. Geelong took advantage of the injury, Travis Varco breaking the game open with 3 goals in 10 minutes. But even in a restricted role up forward, Judd managed to inspire his side.
How does he manage this? It's supernatural.
Carlton stayed with the Cats, and a dazed Robbie Warnock had this late chance to pinch the game.
Now that's the danger.
Yeah, he's pretty disappointed. 3 goals, 6 in the last quarter to 3-1. We had our chance.
I thought they outplayed us. The numbers suggest that they outplayed us. We were fortunate to be in front at the end of the game.
Warnock does have a good excuse for the miss. He remains in hospital with concussion. If a ruck replacement is required, Matthew Cruiser put his hand up for an early return. In his first game back from a knee reconstruction, the 22-year-old kicked 2 goals in a half for the Northern Bull Ants. There were also promising signs in the VFL for the Bulldogs. Barry Hall looks certain to line up against Hawthorn next Sunday after he booted 4 goals 6 for Williamstown, while teammate Brian Lake also got through unscathed as he continued his return to fitness. Nathan Templeton for Sports Tonight.
The Tigers host Essendon and the annual Dreamtime at the G clash tonight to celebrate the Indigenous players in our game. Network 10 commentators Stephen Quartermain and Robert Walls are there, and Stephen, besides being a night of recognition, it should be a ripping game, maybe even an upset in the offing.
Not sure about that, Ian, but look, there's plenty to play for because both teams now are sniffing a spot in the final 8 come September. Rob Walls, the big question for the Bombers is that can they cover the midfield losses?
Well, Watson's out and Hocking out, 2 of their very, very best, but Brent Stanton comes back in quarters, Elwyn Davey also, and we heard James Hird say this week that opportunity for these other players to come in and strengthen up the midfield, so I'm sure they'll grab it.
And I guess look at the other side, the big concern for the Tigers is they leak goals.
Well, they do, and we just saw Paddy Ryder there. Players like Ryder and Bell Chambers and David Hill, they're big fellas, and the weakness is the Richmond defence because their key defenders just aren't big enough.
Well, I'm not sure if I agree with it. I don't think there'll be an upset, but I think it still will be close. I'm going for the Bombers, but not by much.
I'm going for the Bombers, 24 points.
Should be a ripper here at the MCG tonight. Dream time at the GE in Cohen.
Thanks very much, Stephen, and good calling tonight. Championship leader Jamie Whincup has taken out the opening race in round 6 of the V8 Supercar Series at Winton. The race was stopped after trouble on the first 2 corners of the 40-lap event. Steve Johnson led for 15 laps before Whincup's gamble on an early pit stop paid off, ultimately giving him the race lead.
Whincup in that stop. And massive lock-up.
Cold tyres.
It's Whincup's 5th win in 10 starts. Race 2 is tomorrow. Mark Webber is on track to make it back-to-back Spanish Grand Prix after topping the timesheets in both practice sessions overnight. Webber looking good to secure pole ahead of Red Bull teammate and championship leader Sebastian Vettel. Webber is chasing his first win of the season and is 3rd in the standings, 38 points behind Vettel. And before I go, George, Israel Folau, there might be light at the end of the tunnel for GWS. He kicked 4 goals today in their win over Queanbeyan.
That's about right. Thank you for that. Well
That's
done.
all for sport.
OK. I'll be back after the break with the weather and face paint fun. Yes, kids rally for a good cause. Welcome back. Tins were rattled at shopping centres across the state to raise money for children with disabilities. Many faces were brightened and some even transformed into butterflies and tigers. Volunteers encouraged shoppers to dig deep for the Scope fundraiser. With 1 in 14 children living with a disability, money raised services and much needed support to the families. Let's take a look at the weather. And after an overnight low of 12, we did reach a top of 21. Currently, it's 19 degrees. Across our state, the lowest recorded temperature, -1 at Corryong and Mount Hotham. The top temperature, 26 at Hopeton. Interstate tomorrow, 23 for Sydney, 19 for Hobart, 17 for Adelaide. Victoria's forecast tomorrow, a cool to mild, cloudy day with rain areas extending eastwards for much of the day. There is a strong wind warning for the Victorian waters between South Australia and Victoria and Wilson's Promontory. For Melbourne, after a mild night, tomorrow will be cloudy with areas of rain developing in the morning. They will ease to isolated showers, though, in the evening. Temperature range expect of 15 through to 19. On the bays, 20-knot winds. They'll blow in from the north and the waves up to 2 metres. Let's check the outlook for the week ahead. Monday, a few showers with a top of 15. We can expect, in fact, light showers for the rest of the week, a top of 16 on the Friday. And that's the weather forecast for you. And that's the news for the moment. We'll look forward to your company again tomorrow, I hope, once again at 6 for the news on 10. Good night.